in Motherland, you described what it was like to grow up in the shadow of somebody who had been a well-known singer and actress and was makeup addicted, which I love because I literally have every single disorder you can have except makeup addiction. I'd say makeup addiction and gambling are the only two things I don't have. Although in recovery we call them my yets. You know, it still happen, but I get very triggered around point change machines.
Right,
you know,
right.
when the 4 quarters drop, I get a hit.
Right.
The
Dopamine rush.
Yeah, the dopamine rush, like in a car wash when you put the dollar in, and you get the token everywhere. I go, I get by. I really seriously do. But anyway, so what was the hardest part of that? To grow up around an addict, a person of secrets and real madness. I mean that nicely.
Yeah, you know, I mean madness in the nicest of ways.
Yeah. Psychosis.
Massive psychosis.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we were, you know, New York, Queens, Jewish, neurotic, you know, I mean, we were absolutely sort of chipped out of a, you know, Woody Allen movie, I'm sure, you know, I know that's probably not a great thing to say, but it was complicated, you know, it was very, very complicated because one gets the sense that one is not enough, you know, and I definitely, you know, I looked in the mirror and I looked at her and I looked at myself and I thought, well, I didn't get her genes, did I? You know, I don't have the tall, svelte, long, languid. I have the kind of short, you know, Eastern European, you know, beet farmer genes. That's, you know, that's what I have, you know. And my mother's response to that was, when I was very young, was to try and dress me as herself. So, you know, we all remember the days of the tube top. I mean, that was always, I don't know who or what came up with that. But when you're, you know, an 11-year-old girl and you're just sort of, things are starting to happen and, you know, you don't so much, at least I didn't so much want to be dressed like my mother. I actually found a picture of myself the other day that I was in 6th grade and I was wearing an outfit that she had purchased for me at a boutique in New York City that was that was her boutique that she went to, and she had, and I remember it was a full-length skirt, and I'm short now, I was a lot shorter then, and she had to actually take 17 inches off the bottom of the skirt. But she wanted me to look like her. She wanted me to look like a smaller version of her. And I, you know what, I couldn't say anything until I hit, you know, the age of no. You know, the age of no for me was about 12 or 13. And then our relationship changed radically. But, you know,
What happened? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, you know, I think that there was a, you know, the wall went up, and it became really clear that no matter what I did, or no matter how I tried to feed her and feed us in our relationship, it just was not going to happen, because my mother was expecting A and she got B, you know, in the purest sense of the word. And you know, it was a very, very complicated, and you have spoken, and I have, I mean, this is the greatest description of emotional flight attendants. You know, I was her emotional flight attendant. You know, what can I get you? What do you need? What can I get you that's going to make the life in the house okay and safe? You know, sure, I'll put on the makeup, I'll put on the, you know, I'll do the things that you need me to do that will keep me from being myself, but that will make you happy, at least for 5 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds, until, you know, until the next explosion. And then I realized that, you know, that explosion, we were gonna live from explosion to explosion.
And you talk about and you read about the addiction and the feeding off of each other's anger and unwellness, and it's so intoxicating. It's like the vampire inside of all of us, you know, that if we had a vampire parent, a vampire mother, maybe more for girls, you love that vampire dance floor, you know, you love energy, you love a certain kind of subterranean energy. It enlivens us, like a person who's healthy, not that I actually know anyone that is all that healthy, but I would imagine that you see that kind of vampire, smoky energy and you recoil from it, whereas my entire life, unless in the last maybe 20 years, I was powerless to not go get on that dance floor.
Yeah.
I love the smoke, I love shadow, I love energy, I loved meth, I love cocaine, I love that intensity, you know, and so if your mother was there, she must have just lost her mind when you wouldn't offer your neck up to her anymore at 13 or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, she must have been a junkie in withdrawal.
Well, you know, I think that she, we are attracted to what we know, you know, and we are drawn to what we know. And so even now, you know, on the one hand, I recoil from drama. I flee from drama. If I smell it, if I see it, if I feel it, if the air starts to move, and I often do that before I give situations a chance, you know, which is not fair either. But when I finally said stop, no, this was 1976. And 1976 in New York City was the time of Studio 54 and Plato's Retreat. Do you all know what Plato's Retreat is? Okay, right, I'm in the Bay Area, of course, right. And I was busy with my friends, and she was on the verge of divorcing my father, and she was involved with her boss, and every night she and her boss had to go out and entertain clients, right? And so she was gone, and I didn't see her so much, and she spent all of her time at Studio 54, and she was one of those people in Interview magazine, and I was not, you know.
You were the beet farmer.
I was the beet farmer. I was making the borscht, you know. I was in the kitchen stirring the pot, you know. So yeah, so that, I mean, very, you know, complicated, very complex, very complex.